Clarkston. We're super excited to start filming episode number 4 today. And we have a very, very exciting guest with us. Sara Holden is here. And it's super exciting because you may have seen her work in movies and TV.
Yes.
True story.
Just one.
But soon to be a lot more. And Sara is a stunt double. Am I saying it right? Is that the whole
technical
So there's a lot of
term?
different names. I'm a professional stunt woman, but I'm also a stunt performer or a stunt double. All the same thing.
All the same thing.
And a little
Now
bit
we
of
know.
acting too.
You said it much better. And directing, right? Now this is your new.
My first, I will be directing my very first short film this summer.
That's amazing.
But it will be credit number 1.
Credit number
So,
one. Awesome.
gotta start
where-
somewhere.
Yes.
Where will that short film be taking place?
Right here in Clarkston, Michigan, ladies.
Gosh, can we just say that's amazing?
That is amazing.
But how did you? I guess I want to back up because how did you end up here? Because you're not from here, correct?
No, so it's really funny because I grew up in Sterling Heights. So when I thought of Clarkston back then in Sterling Heights, I thought it was like up north, right?
Yeah, right.
And someone's like, well, it's right by Pine Knot. I'm like, damn it, that's like up north technically. Yeah. So it's funny that I didn't realize, when you're younger growing up, you don't realize how close things actually are. Yeah. So I grew up in Sterling Heights, and then I went to Western, started studying theater and advertising. I then graduated and moved to Chicago because I really wanted to get my feet wet in the entertainment business, and Chicago was a big city that was close to Kalamazoo. So I went there and I started doing Second City Improv, which I fell in love with and loved so much.
Oh,
it was
gosh.
an amazing experience.
Chuckle challenge.
Yeah.
Chuckle. I don't want no jokes, but I don't know. And then I also interned at a casting agency. So I got to be familiar with that side of the industry, not so much performing, but like the casting part of it. And so that was all great. And then it was kind of like a little sluggish where I'm like, all right, I feel like I need to make another step because nothing was really happening. And so I talked to somebody and they said, you really need to go to Hollywood. I'm like, wow, yeah, I guess I do. So I just did what, not really the unthinkable because people do this all the time, but you have to have some sort of crazy to throw everything you own in a Dodge Neon and hope it makes it across the country, not having a job out there, not knowing anybody. So I was that person.
That's like the classic story.
It is the classic story, but I understand that that's not for everybody,
Right.
but it was for me, and I did that. And then, this story can go on and on, but so I got there and just started doing random jobs. I was a hostess in a restaurant in Beverly Hills, just networking, and I got into an acting class, and then I met a bunch of stunt people and started doing stunt work, and then that was 15 years ago. And to your question, which I still haven't answered yet,
That's all right.
was after I got established and I was working in California, I realized that I wanted to have a family and I didn't want to raise my kids in California. Not to say there's anything wrong with that, but I wanted them to be around my family and grow up with their cousins and grandparents and all of that. So then we moved back to Michigan, and my husband found Clarkston. And the reason he found Clarkston was because he wanted something close to 75, because his mom lives up in Traverse City, and he wanted something with great schools. And he found Clarkston.
Amazing.
So it was
Here you
100%
are.
him, and I love it here.
Where is he from?
He is from, he lived up in Elk Rapids for a while and summered up there, and he's also grew up in West Bloomfield.
Okay.
So he wasn't from Clarkston either.
Wow.
So it was kind of random, but we love it here.
That's how fun. And we're so lucky that that
Decided.
he found Clarkston.
And I just landed here. I
exciting.
know. I tell people in LA that I'm like, yeah, I'm in a town called Clarkston, Michigan. They're like,
Right.
where's? I said, well, maybe you would know about it because Kid Rock's from there.
Right.
And they're like, oh, okay. I've
Well,
heard
still
of that.
no.
They still don't know.
This is back to what I have a million questions already, but I don't want to take up too much of your time because we'd probably sit here for 12 hours. But when people say
You'd have to give me more than water.
exactly, let me look under here.
Ooh, what's under here?
What's under here? When people say, "I'm just go to Hollywood," what does that even mean? I mean, because you could go to Hollywood. I know where it is.
I've gone to Hollywood.
Yes,
It
we've been there. But
not
like
a great pay. Yeah.
when you say networking, that seems like such a fantasy. Like I go to Hollywood and things just happen and I meet all the people. Like, but it's got to be a grind, right? And
Oh my gosh, it's such a grind. I mean, if I told you some of the odd jobs I did just to, survive and pay my rent and all that, I can't even think of all of them because there were so many and so random. But back then it was Craigslist, so I found my roommate on Craigslist.
Yeah.
Really aging myself.
Yeah.
They're like, people are like, what's Craigslist?
Right.
But I remember I found my roommate on Craigslist because I needed a place before I moved there, and she seemed normal. Right, but she was a rando. Like but looking back at it, it's like, oh my God.
Was she normal?
She was normal.
Okay.
I think she was a Midwest girl. She worked at, I think Disney. I was like, all right, she's got a job. So the apartment was actually in North Hollywood. But that's just 20 minutes from Hollywood. So that was the first step. All right, find a place to live. And then I remember, because my husband, then boyfriend at the time, is the one who drove me out. And then I put him on a plane. And I remember like leaving LAX and going, all right, I'm literally all by myself. I'm gonna go back to my apartment and kind of get to know this roommate, and I probably should try to start looking for a job. I mean, it was that, like starting off from square one.
Wow.
But you know what I started doing? And now I'm remembering, like, what did I do? I did background work, extra work.
Okay.
Right.
And so when people ask, look, if somebody wants to get in the film business, that is one thing I always tell them to do. Do extra work. Now, you're not going to make a lot of money. You're not doing it for the money. Yeah. You make something. I don't even know what they make now, but I mean, it's not a lot. Long hours, but you're on a movie set. You learn all the departments. You learn set etiquette, what to do, what to don't. Shut your mouth, like just watch, do as you're told. And you get a little acting experience in.
Very cool.
I did that for years.
Wow.
Years. Then I started bartending, and then when I got behind the bar, that's when I started meeting people because you're behind a bar. So, and my bar was the Farmers Market, which is a very famous place in LA, and it was next to CBS. So all the CBS guys would come over on their lunch break, and I'm a social bee if you haven't figured that one out. And so I'm like, what do you do? What do you do? So I made a ton of friends behind the bar, and that's the networking. And then I meet someone, I go to this acting class. Oh, what's that? And so then I joined that acting class, met a bunch of actor friends. I mean, it just, that's how you do it.
Yeah, and it's like you have the energy in your 20s. I'm assuming you're in your young 20s when you're doing that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still there. I mean, I'm like 29.
We're all 29,
Same thing.
So I know you sent us quite a few pictures, but tell us some different movies that you've been on, shows that you've been on.
Like recently, or?
Yeah, just ones that we would know. Yeah.
Well, you would know all of them, but I would say the recent thing, let's start really recent. I just got back from Portland this last week, and we wrapped a movie called Little Wing. It's a feature film for Paramount, and I was doubling a 13-year-old child.
How does that work?
She's my size.
Oh my goodness.
Amazing. I was a little, it was funny because the director said, she's a couple pounds more, and I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, yes. So I was actually asked to lose like 5 pounds, which I've never been asked that in my whole career. Wow. So I said, yeah, no problem. Didn't.
Wow.
Didn't even try. It's
you really are 20. This is
It's so ridiculous. But so the girl I doubled, her name is Brooklyn Prince. She's fantastic. She was on the movie Cocaine Bear. I don't know if you heard or saw that.
Yep.
So she was in that. So that's what I recently did. And I was hanging from this building downtown Portland, like going up and down the fire escape, and it was like 4 stories high. So you can't have a minor up there. You just can't. And I don't even think this girl would have done it if she could. Yeah. So we did a lot of that, like high work, and then she sneaks out of her house one night and then goes down the trellis of her house and falls off. So that was me. And then we did a lot of bike riding over, like at nighttime over the bridges, and drones were following me, so I had to go as fast as I can on the bike, but like keep a steady line so I don't hit drones. Like, there's a lot of things that people don't realize. Oh, that's stunt work? It is stunt work. Yeah. I mean, the biking, I'm not falling down or anything, but I had to haul butt on the bike for hours, maintaining this line. I had big drones right here. I mean, if I veered off and hit a drone, that would not be good for any party.
Well,
So that's considered stunt work right there.
How did you get into stunt work in particular, though? Because you're out there and there's all these different areas in the industry, right? But how did that land for you?
So I actually went out just to do acting. That's all I wanted to do. I didn't know about stunt work. Had I known, I think I would have gone out to pursue that, just knowing I'm an athletic person by nature. So I went out trying to do the acting thing and getting very small roles here and there, but I'm like, oh, there's like a million little short blonde Sarah looking people out here. Like, right, they're everywhere. I'm like, shit, but I'm like cooler than all these people, so what's another way in the business? And so I was on a film called Beerfest. I don't know if you've ever heard of this movie.
I should.
It
This
sounds
like
familiar.
It's a funny, over-the-top comedy. The guy from Super Troopers was the director. Anyway, I'm sure you've heard of it.
Okay.
Nonetheless, I had we call it a day player role. I had one line. I don't even remember what the line is. It didn't end up making it in the movie. I landed on the cutting room floor, so they say. But I was on set I remember it was like an 18-hour day, and I was a German wench. So I was in this German, with the big steins and just this ridiculously short, skirt, and it's like 18 hours. We're like, oh my God, this is so long. So you kind of, at that point, you're getting a little delirious, and you'll talk to anybody. So I ended up talking to the guy next to me. Hey, what's going on? What do you do? Where are you from? Well, he happened to be the stunt coordinator of the film. And so I started asking him all the questions that you are about to ask me, right? What do you mean? What do you do? What does that mean? So the stunt happened, and there was two girls who got nailed with a fire hose, and the fire hose hits them, and they get thrown back into this pool, and all the water's everywhere. So of course, what do I say? I can do that, right? I can do that. So I'm telling the guy, and I'm he's telling me, what did you do for, what's your background in sports? I said, well, I was a gymnast. I played softball, I scuba dive, I skydive, I played women's rugby in college for 4 years. Wow. He goes, okay, yeah, you need to pursue stunts. And I'm like, really? So I didn't know anything about it, but he made it look and sound intriguing. I saw the stunt that was performed that day. I was like, that's more fun than sitting around being a beer wench, right? And you get paid a lot more. I was like, yeah, I think I want to do that. So this is really fun. I don't know if I've ever said this, but so after that, I don't think I ever got his name or number or anything, which is silly because how do I follow up? Yeah. I don't remember. But I think the next day or days after, I Googled like stuntman, something. I don't even know how to be a stunt person or something really generic. Yeah. And up popped, it was around Christmas time, and it said Stuntman Association Christmas Party. The date and the address, which happened to be like 15 minutes from my house. And I'm like, all right, well, maybe I'll just go to that.
Oh my God.
Looking back, you guys.
That's crazy.
It is crazy. And I don't know how I didn't think it was crazy then, because looking back now, it's such a small community, and I just walk into this party uninvited. I remember I walked up, I grabbed a beer, and I was like walking around like, hey, and I'm like, oh my God. It's so embarrassing because
well, it's like if you act like you're supposed to be there, they don't know that you're not.
And
right?
that's exactly what I did. And I mean, it's not like I got kicked out of anything, but looking back, I'd be like, oh my God, you idiot. Why did you do that? But guess what happened? I met this man named Bob Yerkes, who is like this legend stuntman in our business. He was a circus performer with Ringley. He was part of the Ringley Brothers like startup. Oh my This guy just, he was awesome. Yeah. He took a liking to little Sarah, and he said, so you want to be a stunt woman? I go, yes, I really do. He goes, come to my house Saturday, 9 o'clock, don't be late. And I'm like, all right, this is weird. Right? I'm like, who else is going to be there? Well, come to find out, he had a training facility in his backyard. Wow. He had a 60-foot high fall ladder. He had trampolines. We did high falls off his roof, stage combat. He had a trapeze back there. I mean, it was like an adult jungle gym. Yeah. Oh my gosh. And it was by invite only. So looking back, I was very lucky that he invited me. I went to his house every Saturday, 9 to 2, for 2 years straight, and I trained my butt off in the stunt world and learned everything there was to stunts.
Wow, what a commitment.
So cool.
And I did commit because I feel like in anything like specialized, especially in Hollywood, because the demand is so high. Yeah. Everyone wants to do something, whether you want to be a writer, a director, producer, a stunt person, actor. There's a million people that want to do it. And if you're not laser focused on it, I just don't know that you would make it. Yeah. It's not like, oh, I'll give it a shot as a side. No, that's got to be your main focus. Yeah. So I bartended to save money, and I trained to be a stunt person. That was it.
Were those paid, that you had to pay for those Saturdays, or was this
It was by
free?
donation only.
Oh, wow.
I mean, we'd throw a couple bucks in. It was nothing. And it's because Bob Yerkes, the owner, he just wanted to give back to the community. He didn't need the money. He liked having everyone there, new up and coming stunt people. He kind of trained with us. He's in his 80s now. And the last time I saw him was a couple years ago, and he was on his trampoline, like flipping. I mean, it was crazy. Like, I'm like, Bob, are you okay? He's like, yeah, I got it. I'm like, oh, okay. Like, I don't want to witness
So I want to
anything.
ask, like, what kind of injuries have you had?
You know, I actually I'm healing right now, but it wasn't even on the job. I sprained my knee, but I was skiing in Tahoe for fun. As far as on the job, nothing major other than your bumps and bruises that are very much expected anytime you do a stunt.
Okay.
But I have never had any major injuries.
Okay.
Well, is that because you're just so well prepared?
It's because I am so talented. No,
and that as well, obviously.
no,
That's
it's
what
not
you're
at all.
getting at.
Honestly, I don't know, because there's a lot of times I lied. I did have an injury. I lied. I broke my wrist when I was doubling Patricia Arquette last year, but I didn't know about it until like 8 weeks later when I went to try to do a handstand. I was like, oh, God, my wrist feels really weird. I'm like, I'm gonna go get it checked out. And the doctor's like, oh yeah, that was broken, but it's like halfway healed. I'm like, oh. So then I said, well, how long ago? Like, how long has it been? He goes, I would say 8 weeks. I literally had to look through my phone, and I'm like, oh yeah, when I fell off that big ramp doubling Patricia,
gosh.
I must have broke it then. And I showed the doctor. He goes, yeah, that was definitely. So I guess I take it back. I broke a wrist.
No, was that for
Not
that
too
show
bad.
High Desert?
Yes.
The new show?
Yes, it's
I
airing
like
right
that
now. It's
show.
airing. I doubled her for the whole run of the show.
Did
That
you?
was great.
Wow,
So
she's
much
amazing.
fun stunts we did on that one. Hanging from
Oh,
chandeliers.
yes. They spin around.
Yeah.
It's very
So
fun.
I know I've seen you in a couple of commercials.
Yeah.
The
God.
Kia commercial, right?
Oh, the hamster one?
Yes. And
Yes.
The big
DTE.
The
DTE is still going. I tried to pull up the clip because I
Oh,
wanted.
can you not?
Oh my gosh.
I want to see it now. I don't know what it is.
you have seen it.
Oh,
It's
I have.
on all
I've
the
seen it.
time.
Okay.
Yes.
That is the gift that keeps on
Yes.
giving, ladies.
Sorry if you didn't want to talk about that. I mean,
My phone still blows up. Just saw you on the DT, or my cousins will like take a snapshot of me at the very end with that really cheesy smile, and they're like, "There's my cousin." I'm like, "Oh my god."
are you wearing a plaid shirt? feel
I am
like?
wearing a plaid
Yes.
shirt.
Oh my gosh, I'll have to look
That's
at
gonna
it.
help you.
Okay.
I still have
Identify
that
you.
plaid shirt in my closet.
Yes.
Nice.
Oh my gosh.
What was the first big, like, you know, talk about big breaks. Like, what was your first big movie?
Yeah, that's
or
a good
TV
question.
show?
One of my very first jobs, I doubled Pamela Anderson. And it's a funny story because I was so green, new, I didn't know anything, and it was one of my first jobs. So when you book a job, you get calls from production, you get calls from hair. They usually want a selfie of what your hair looks like, so they know if they need to wig you and all that, or if they're just going to spray your hair, so they don't wig you, all the stuff. Then you get a call from wardrobe, and they ask you your sizes. And this is very, like, normal people will be like, you want my height and weight? Like, it's a very much, I am asked it every week.
Yeah.
Where are you at in your height and weight, right?
Yeah.
It's just part of the job. So the wardrobe calls, and I send them all my sizes. So then I get a phone call right after I send it, and I'm like, oh, I hope everything's okay. I'm like, hello? Yeah, hi, this is wardrobe from blah, I forget the show. Oh, Blonde and Blonder. It was called Blonde and Blonder. Went straight to DVD. It was with Denise Richards and Pamela Anderson. You probably never saw it. I never saw it. But so she's asking the sizes, and I get to my chest, right? And I'm doubling Pam. So she says, all right, so now you said your chest was 32D? I said, no, it's a 32B, which I was lying because it's an A, okay? let's just be real here. So I was lying.
You to Pam. Ooh.
Yeah, and I said, no, it's a 32B. And she goes, and it was like silence on the other end. I'm like, hello? Like crickets. And she goes, I'm sorry, you said 32B? Like as in boy? And I said, and I'm thinking, okay, you have to rub it in. I'm like, yes, 32B is in boy. And she's like, oh, okay. All right. Well, we'll have to work on that then. And I'm like, well, okay. So I get to set, and I get to my trailer, and I open the door, and all the wardrobe's hanging up, and it's this really tight, sparkly sequins deal. Nothing like I would ever
Right.
wear. giant stiletto heels, like 6 inches. I'm like, how am I gonna walk on these? Let alone do a stunt. I'm like, because this is my jam right here, right? So but then we get to the bra. It's the chicken cutlets, right? That like 5 of them.
Oh my gosh.
Like so many that I
man.
put this, and I'm like, I was getting weighed. Oh my God, it was an 18-hour day. I remember taking that thing off, and I'm like, yeah, I'm good with this.
Yeah,
Like,
right?
It was so heavy, you guys, and and they were still not big enough.
That is so funny.
So that was a really fun one of my first jobs. And then I would say the second one where I knew that I had made it, if you will. And by that in the stunt world is that your name's just getting out there. You're proving to people that you're professional, you're capable of doing the job. And that was a movie called, it's not a good one either, Piranha 3D. You ever heard that one? It's about killer piranhas. It's a doozy. But we were on location, meaning we all got flown to Lake Havasu, Arizona. There were 30 stunt people. We all just bonded and had the best time. And I kept thinking, I can't believe I'm getting paid right now. Because we were getting eaten by piranhas in Lake Havasu, which is like a beautiful lake surrounded by cliffs. And you know, on our days off, we would just be cliff jumping, and we rented boats. I mean, it was like,
Vacation.
really? It was a vacation, and we were all making friends, and that's when I was like, all right, I'm part of this group. Like, I'm in. And then from there on, I just have been steadily working, minus my children, you know, when I was pregnant. But I mean, other than that, I've been staying very busy, which I'm so grateful for, because it's a hard business.
Well, I would imagine the retirement age must be younger for stunt people.
I mean, maybe, but I don't think that's gonna, I look at it like, if I can keep my body in shape and I'm willing to do things and people are still willing to have me around, I don't believe there is a retirement age.
Awesome.
And I want to just keep saying that, because it was funny when I became a mom, which I was, I don't know, early 30s, someone said to me, oh, so you're not going to do stunt work anymore, right? And I'm like, why? What do you mean?
Right.
And so it's just this, I don't know if it's a stigma or whatever you want to call it, but no. I mean, I've maintained my career with raising my 2 kids. I mean, it adds a lot more difficulty with logistics and all of that. I mean, you guys are moms. Imagine just like when I went to Portland, I was gone for 17 days. That was a long one. I typically don't take jobs that take me away that long, but this one, for whatever reason, I didn't turn it down or couldn't. We've got strikes happening, so I never know when my next job's gonna be. So I didn't want to turn down that big job. So yeah, I had to, like, you know, it takes a village, we say, right?
Right. Well, isn't that one of the reasons you moved back, like to be around family and have that support? And does your community, your family community, come and help when you have these long stays?
100%. And I live on a lake, and the lake community is so great. My neighbors are amazing. Like, it's like if I can tell my kids, hey, when you get home from the bus, go to Kevin's next door. You'll be there for 2 hours. I mean, I don't do it a lot, but if I have to do it, yes. And my mom's in Rochester. My brother's in Rochester. I just, you know, there's a lot of people that can help, and I need that, or else I wouldn't be able to do it.
That's amazing.
But I know stunt women in their 70s. Now, are they falling down stairs? No.
Right.
But they're doing stuff still, and I'm like, you know what? I want to be that.
Yeah, it's amazing. Are there stunts, I was thinking about this when we were talking about this, are there stunts that you don't do or have, you know, is there anything on your I don't do it list?
There is, and it was because I became a mom. Before I became a mom, I was gung-ho for anything. And I'm still kind of gung-ho for anything, considering I like flipped a car 2 years ago. That was a biggie. I am not interested in doing car hits. And a car hit is you literally get hit by a car. But the percentage of the risk of getting hurt and broken bones, to me, is just not worth it, because I can't have a big injury, like a broken femur. Like, that's a year.
Yeah.
So I do think about that.
That's
so
like not doing it again in my mind. Okay, a year. Sure.
No, I meant like you're out for a year, like you're
Yes.
injured for a long time,
Right.
you can't do anything. So car hits, I will pass on. Not that I get those calls a lot, but that's it. My mom just earlier, she said, well, you told me you would never do Firebirds. I'm like, I don't ever remember telling you that. And I work on Chicago Fire a lot. And so fire is still on the table for me.
And so have you been engulfed in flames like this on purpose? I can't even.
I've never
picture
done a
this.
full fire burn. It's
Okay.
prepped, it's slated in my script for this summer for my #MomLife movie while I'm water skiing. Little spoiler alert.
Wow.
But as of today, I've only had my arms up in flames. I've never done a full burn.
So you just don't have a lot of fear. This is like, the fear of heights, like,
I guess not, because when I talk about it, people look at me like I am insane, but I'm
Yeah.
like, what? I don't know. It's I think I've just been surrounded by the stunt business so long that you do talk about it very casually, and I have to realize this is not normal talk.
Not normal. No.
Katie's like, I would. So if I gave you $5,000,
Yes.
you wouldn't, and you had a bunch of professionals around you.
Okay.
With fire extinguishers, you were put fire gel. I mean, it's not like we just willy-nilly set you on
Right.
fire.
Yeah.
There's all these protocols. You wouldn't do it?
I mean, maybe. Fire gel
See?
sounds
Fire
like,
gel.
I didn't know there was a fire gel.
Absolutely, or else
Yeah,
you
that
would be
sounds
burned.
safe.
it
That
sounds
sounds
magical.
safe.
Like,
Or else you would be burned.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's
So, I mean, no, if I said, I'll pay you $5,000 to flip a car, you might be like, I don't want to do
No,
that.
and like falling downstairs.
and the
There's
heights.
Yeah.
and
It's funny,
Maybe
both of
you
your
can
girls.
just set me on fire. That's the only thing.
I'll set you
Yeah.
on fire. Maybe I'll put you in my
Oh,
movie this year.
yeah,
Sounds
that'd be great.
Both of your daughters, as I was coming in, said, "Are you the stunt double that worked on Fuller House?"
Oh, yeah.
I said yes.
Oh, how fun.
Yes, Kennedy was
my
doing.
gosh.
Oh my gosh, why can't I think? Who's the girl from Fuller House?
Kimmy Gibbler.
Yes, Kennedy was
Yes.
doing the
Oh, that's what you
Kimmy
said.
Gibbler dance
Oh.
today, talking about you. So
Yeah, and it's
Oh my
funny because
gosh.
I doubled Kimmy's daughter in the show too. Her name's Ramona. Both of them happen to fall down the stairs on different episodes, and I doubled them both.
So when you're like falling down the stairs, for example, are you like I picture it? You're like you fall down, you stop halfway, and then they continue. Are you literally falling down the
So-
entire?
Shockingly, there's a lot of different ways to fall down a stair, and it's an art form. For instance, horror movie stair falls are much more violent than Fuller House sitcom stair falls. I know this sounds ridiculous. I went to college, by the way. Like I graduated with honors, and I'm throwing myself
falling
downstairs. Anyway, and the key to a stair fall is speed. You don't want to go down slow because then you're like tick, pluck, tick, pluck, and you're hitting
this is
every
good to
single.
know.
This is very good to know.
Yeah.
Keep it
So
up
if you're
here.
ever falling down the stairs
Just
in
go
your
with
house,
it.
just
for it.
go
Yeah.
for it.
Do you just
Full
let your
out.
body limp? Just like let it happen. Like
It
flop
depends. The
down?
Fuller House stairs actually have a curve, if you remember.
God.
So
Yeah.
they're not straight.
Yeah.
And what you do is you pad up your points. Elbows, knees, hips, tailbone.
Okay.
Can't pad up your head because you'll see it. So the head, you're just gonna hit your head.
Okay.
Tuck it in and hope for the best.
Pad up your point.
Pad
your
up the points. Boom. See, you guys
That's
can
a
just be
life
stunt
lesson.
doubles
I
by the end
know.
of
I
this.
think we're just
Gosh,
gonna
we're
do a
ready
few
to go.
stunts right here. Let's get some stuff going.
John, bring us the staircase.
Come on, John, bring it in.
Roll in the
Bring it in.
stairs. Oh my gosh. That is what's the stunt that you love to do? Like what do you when you look forward to a shoot and you're like, oh, I get to jump off a building, or what is it that you
I
love?
do like doing high falls. Those are fun. But I'm kind of like a 30-foot is the most I'll probably do. Because at Bob's, the guy that the backyard, he has a 60 foot. I did a 60-foot high fall, and I was like, yeah, probably I don't really need to do that anymore. Like there was some fear. So I do have fear.
Yeah.
But 30 foot all day long, that's
Wow.
easy. 60 is like, you look down, you're like, oh, and you're kind of like a little bit of, a little wobbly up there.
Yeah.
So I do like doing high falls. I also like doing wire work.
What's that?
So you're in a harness and you're attached to a line, a wire. And actually, there was a film that was shot here when we had the film incentive called Oz, the Great and Powerful, with James Franco and Michelle Williams. And I doubled Michelle Williams. She played the part of Glenda, the Good Witch. And I doubled her the whole run of the show. It was a 4-month deal. And I was actually living in LA at the time, and I moved back in with my parents.
Nice.
And worked that whole film.
Wow. It was in Detroit?
It was in
filmed?
Detroit, Pontiac at the stages,
Yes.
which are no longer
I
the
remember
stages.
when that
I
happened.
know. That's
Which is
another
so sad.
question I had too,
Yeah, that's
to
a
see
good
what
question.
happened to that.
So I was basically in a harness that whole time, and it was flying. I did all of her flying stuff. So that was really fun, and it was cool to work with the rigging team, because to rehearse that, I also rehearsed all of Mila Kunis's flying rigs. She actually did her own flying. but I got it dialed in because we're on broomsticks. We had to be balanced a certain way. There's so much that goes into getting an actor dialed in if they're going to do their own stunt, if you will.
Right.
And yes, some actors do some of their own stunts. The majority have doubles. So that was a really fun job, and wire work is just fun because you're flying, you
And
know.
what's the stunt that you're like, oh, here we go? Like, I have to do
Stair
this one.
falls.
Oh, is it?
They just suck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you know they're going to hurt. They're going to hurt. Like, there's no way to not have that hurt.
And how many takes do you have to do? Because then you're
It
hurting over and
depends.
over.
So we all want, the stunt performer wants one. We want one take. It's rarely one take. So I did many stair falls on Fuller House. One time for Kimmy, I was in, it was a wardrobe issue because she was in this like big like dress. It was like a Victorian dress. So as I went down, the dress was going up and you could see my knee pads. And so the director's like, we gotta do it again. And I watched the playback. I was like, oh no, that looks terrible. We gotta do it again. So then wardrobe came and we were trying to like pin the dress so it would stay put, but what do you pin it to? So I had to do that one 7 times.
Holy
That
moly.
was terrible. But then I came back next week and did the Ramona fall, and we did it in 1. And he was like, I got it. And I'm like,
Nice.
for real?
Seriously?
And everyone clapped. I'm like, yes. So it just all depends. And wardrobe has a lot to do with it. If you're in a dress, it's hard to do
Hide
that
the
where it
pads.
looks tasteful.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, I also saw one of the pictures that you had sent with you and Kristen Bell.
Yes.
And she's a local Michigan
Yes.
woman too. So I'm curious, if she seems like the sweetest person on the planet. Is that true? Can you dish?
I can do a little dishing. So I met and doubled Kristen years ago. I want to say, God, probably 10 years ago, on a movie called The Boss with Melissa McCarthy.
Yes.
And we were shooting in Atlanta. And I've always known I was a dead ringer. That means a very good double for Kristen.
Yep.
But she had a double, someone that I knew. So in our business, you don't ever like steal someone's actress, okay? Now, actors can write stunt people in their contract, and then that's like, I know Will Smith's stunt double, he's been in his contract for 15 years. Will doesn't have any other double but this person. So that's essentially like the golden ticket for stunt
Yeah,
people.
right.
I have not had that happen to me, and not many people do. It's rare. So, but I happened to get the call to double Kristen on The Boss, and I even said, well, is so-and-so not available? And they said, I'm not sure, but you're a great double for her, and I'm the boss, and I want to hire you. Okay. I kind of tried to make sure that was okay, and if the other girl wasn't available. So anyway, I doubled her, and I was. We're very alike as far as our body, our face shape, facial shape, everything. So it was funny. We were shooting nights on The Boss, and I was in the bathroom. It was like 2 a.m. I forgot to lock the thing. I was just tired, and I just had to go to the bathroom. And Kristen walks in on me, and she's like, so I look up, and she looks up, and it's like this, and she looked at me, and she goes, God, I feel like I'm looking in the mirror because we have hair and makeup the same. We're in the same outfit. And so that was just a perfect Kristen icebreaker. Yeah. I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. So now we're in the bathroom washing our hands. And I said, I just flew in from Michigan, and I kind of forgot she was from Michigan. But when I said this, she goes, I'm from Michigan. I'm like, oh my God, that's right. We sat and shot the you-know-what in the bathroom for like a half hour.
Nice.
She has 2 kids, I have 2 kids. We're both married to like laid back Michigan dudes. Like my husband's very much like her husband Dax, just like goes with the flow. We're just laid back, whatever, beer drinking, pizza eating. You know what I mean? Like Midwest guy.
Yeah.
And so we were talking. And then I didn't double her again until years later for Veronica Mars, the reboot. Yeah. And she remembered me. And I didn't expect her to remember me because she probably had, I don't know. Yeah. But I went up, I was like, hey, she goes, oh my God, hey. So she was really cool, but less chatty on Veronica Mars.
Huh, interesting.
And I think, my speculation is, from the time of The Boss to Veronica Mars, she had Frozen come out. Like she kind of like her star kind of rose a lot. And so maybe she just was less chatty. But I brought my kids on the set to Veronica Mars, and she was like talking to them, and like, I'm from Michigan too, and so still super sweet.
Yeah.
But
You just got to meet her in the bathroom.
Yeah.
I just have to meet her in the bathroom and have bathroom talk. But
Good connections.
the director really liked me because I did a lot of I did all of her driving stuff, and they could shoot me straight on because he goes, from the lens that we're using, you can't even tell the difference because our face structures are the same. And I was like, and a director loves that. If they can use a double and not have to use the actor a lot, especially during driving stuff, they love that.
Is there is there a camaraderie of people that are from Michigan? If you're out in Hollywood, you know, is there any kind of like, hey, we're all kind of from the same little Midwest?
It's more just Midwest, like Chicago, Iowa, Indiana, Ohio. Not a ton of Michigan people. There's a few other stunties that live in Michigan and still live in Michigan, but it's very small. Like
Stunties? Is that the
yeah,
name? Oh,
stunties.
that's cute.
Did I say stunt? Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. Okay.
Yeah, stunties. So like less than 6, I would say.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, not many.
That's not many at all.
I know at one point I think you were doing like a lot of parkour stuff. Were you doing some of that?
I very
like just
much
training?
Yeah, just dabbled in parkour.
So what do you do now just to stay fit and
Yes.
like ready to tumble
That's
downstairs
a
at
good
any
question.
point?
I still do gymnastics, but there's not many gyms locally that allow adult gymnastics because it's a whole nother insurance level because we get hurt.
Yeah.
So I go to, I think it's in Oxford. So I go there and I still tumble, but it has to be on a spring floor. And I can still flip, which is pretty, most of the kids there are like, "Are you a mom?" And I'm like, "Yeah." What's up with what's wrong with it? They're like, "What?" And all the other moms are just sitting there drinking coffee, and like flipping around. But I don't care, so I still do that.
Okay.
I don't feel great the next day. I'm like really sore. I water ski
Okay.
a lot,
Hockey.
and I play hockey.
Oh, Yeah, that's a
Hockey
great
is I've never realized the amount of athleticism, coordination, and just cardio.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll go for one shift in hockey. It's like, you know, maybe a minute, maybe a minute and a half. We're like dying.
That's nuts.
So hockey's been awesome.
And how did you decide to pick up hockey as an adult?
Oh,
How
you
did that
picked up
happen?
as an adult?
Yeah.
Oh,
So
oh,
I
wow.
never skated growing up. I mean, a couple times, like when we go, I don't know, when you'd go rent skates as a
Right,
kid,
for
but I
sure.
never like skated a ton. But I ended up booking Mighty Ducks, the TV show.
Okay.
And they were looking for hockey doubles. And so I got the call and it was like, "Hey, can you skate?" And I'm like, "I mean, I don't, but aren't you from Michigan? Didn't you grow up skating?" I'm like,
Right.
"I mean, we have ice here, but not really." So I ended up going down to Puck Masters, which is in Wixom, told them my story. They were like, "Wait, you're a what? You want to do what?" And I said, "Can you give me like a half-hour lesson?" I said, "I'm really quick at learning things.
30 minutes, that's
I'm
all I
really
need."
coordinated. Give me
Holy
30
moly,
minutes
that's
and
insane.
just show me what, like, you know, obviously don't teach me the game, just show me like some
Yeah.
moves on the ice." And he did. We filmed it, I sent it, I booked it,
Wow.
which is shocking because I don't really,
nuts.
they must have not needed someone very good. But during filming, I got a lot more ice time. And so I was on the ice and I was meeting people. I'm like, "This sport is amazing." And they're like, "Well, you could be in they're called beer leagues, which
Yeah.
are like old people hockey." And
For
I'm like,
sure.
"I'm in."
Yeah.
And I have met the most fabulous group of girls, and we have bonded over the last 2 years. We play out of Fraser, and it's awesome. And we have a team called the Vixens, and we have the best time. Our season starts up in the fall.
That is so cool. It reminds me of the roller derby
Yes.
teams.
Oh, yeah.
I would love playing roller.
That's
You
pretty
would love
fun.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I went to watch one of those. I'm not sure if they're called matches, but one of their games or whatever.
Yes.
And you have to be pretty tough. You have to be brave, and you have to just kind of go for it.
And be
And
okay
that-
getting hurt.
Okay
I would
getting
love
hurt.
roller derby. I have a stunt friend who is in roller derby, and she was on that movie. That
Whip It.
Whip It. She was in Whip It.
Yes,
Yep.
with Drew Barrymore, I think. Yeah, there's so much physicality with hockey and roller derby. I imagine it would be like you don't want to get too comfortable if you're a stunty. We're going to use that word. You don't want to get too comfortable not being hurt or pushed around. I would imagine like you need to keep that.
You
like,
have to.
stamina up.
I mean, I think just rugby alone got me like prepped for the stunt business.
you played rugby at you said you
At
went to
Western.
Western. I didn't know. Is it a club team?
It was a
had?
club team. Yeah,
That's
it was the
interesting.
Kalamazoo Kangaroos. Again, with the best group of women.
Yeah.
And we, oh my God, we had so much fun. We went to Ireland twice for tournaments. I mean,
wow.
that was a very fun time.
How cool. Sorry, I keep kicking you.
That's
I'm
all right.
sorry. I keep
That's
kicking
all
you. Well, okay, so we watched your mom life. Is it called, you have to say hashtag in front of it?
I call it hashtag mom life.
Okay,
Yeah.
I want to get it right. Hashtag mom life. So that was the first short film, and tell us about that, because I think you won some awards, right? Or
Yeah, so I love this story. I mean, we can talk about like celebrities I've doubled, but blah. This I'm actually really proud of. So, long story short, there's a stunt called a pipe ramp, okay? And it's you turn a car over, you essentially flip a car over. And it's a really, and you're looking at me like, why in the world would you want to do that? I don't have an answer for that. But if you had other stunt people here, they'd all say the same thing. It's one of those gags, we call them gags, that everyone wants to do. You just want to do it. We've taken all the driving courses, the stunt driving, but like to do a pipe ramp, like that's a really cool stunt to do. The problem is they are far and few between, and I'm gonna say 90% of them, 95 even, they go to men. Yeah. They just do. And I'm not trying to be like, oh, like it's just the reality. And if my stunt guy friends are here, they would agree. They're like, yeah, it sucks for you guys. It just is how it is. Yeah. And so I'm sitting here going, well, why is that? Why does it have to be that way? Right. It's when I did it was 2020, like stunt women, we've really come a long way, and the first stunt women in the 50s, 60s, 70s really paved the way for stunt women, which is amazing, and we just want to keep pushing the envelope, right? Yeah. Why are we still not getting the opportunities that the men are getting? Why? Right. We're capable, we're willing to do it. What's the problem? Yeah. Yeah. Why are men still getting in the seat and putting women's wigs on their head? That's no, we call that wigging. No, it needs to be stopped. It's not, it just sucks. Yeah. So I was filming a show in Pittsburgh, and there was a pipe ramp, a small one, and my friend Keith Adams was doing it. So at lunchtime, I was picking his brain. So why don't we get to do them? All that stuff. And he's like, you're right. He's like, I totally hear you, and it really sucks. So he kind of like went like that to me after lunch was over, and he goes, well, you could do your own, and he kind of walked away. So at my hotel that night, I could not sleep. I was up till like 3 in the morning, and I'm like, he's right. I am just going to do my own. Why can't I? Mm-hmm. And so wheels are turning, I can't stop, and it took me 1.5 years to prep this thing, and it was over COVID, so that kind of put a damper on everything, but it gave me more time to prep it, and I was like, I'm gonna pipe my own car, and I'm gonna self-fund it, because those are big money gags. And so at first I had to get my husband on board. That was the number one, right? And so that conversation went over like, wait, I'm sorry, what do you want to do? And wait, we're paying for it? And so when I told him the whole story, he's like, you know what? It's really awesome that you want to do that. I admire that you're confident enough and that you want to push yourself out there. So he ate it up. Okay. He ate up my story, which is great because I needed him on board. Yeah. For so many reasons. And I ended up like kind of putting the word out there, and all the response was support. That's awesome. Yeah, what do you need? Let's do it. So because it was self-funded, I was trying to pull all the favors I can and have anyone do anything for me for free. Yeah. So all the stunt safety team were a lot of the local guys that we talked about. They came out for free just to help me as I would do for them. That's, we want to help and support our peers. And then the Chicago Fire picture car department donated the car for me to flip. Wow. That was huge. Yeah. And then I actually found my welder from Chicago PD. He did my cage, I paid him, but he did a lot of work. I didn't expect him to like do that for free, but I sat with him in his welding shop and watched him how he designed the cage and how to do it. Not that I'm ever gonna weld, but I wanted to learn, where do we put the pillars? Where's the A pillars? Where's the frame?
And I don't know this, but like cars, when you flip it in a movie, it's got a cage inside of it?
They all have roll
Okay, I mean, that makes sense, but
every single car you ever see flip has a roll cage and a stunt driver in there that is helmet, mouth guard, fire suit, 5-point harness, wrist straps that you attach to the steering wheel so your arm doesn't go flying out, and you get, there's so many things, and I didn't take any shortcuts during this prep, because I'm like, this is good. I'm prepping this car and doing this stunt as it would be on $1 million picture. Wow.
And you have one shot.
And I have one shot.
Really? Just one? Okay.
I had one car.
One car, yeah.
So
that's pressure.
Have you ever seen this gone bad? Like,
I never have, but I'm sure
where they don't get the shot they need. Okay.
I'm sure, but two things could happen. Number one, you're on a big budget show where you have another car.
Okay.
Yeah. Or there's enough of the team there that they can maybe salvage the car, bump it out, make it look somewhat normal, and they can do it again.
Okay.
But a lot of times it's a one-hit deal, whether you got one shot.
Okay.
So with all that to say and all the prep around this stunt, I was telling one of my stunt friends in LA when I was out there working, he said, well, you've gone to all this trouble and you have an acting background, you might as well shoot a little like scene around it. And I'm like, well, that's a good idea, because I was just gonna do the stunt and have like my husband film it on his iPhone. So then it turned into, I met another stunt friend who's a writer out in California. We had coffee, I pitched him the story, he loved it. He's like, I'll write you a whole short film. Because writing is difficult. I tried to do that, it's not really my thing, although I wrote the sequel. It's probably not gonna be anywhere as near good as the first one. But so then now we've got a whole production. And I hired a local Michigan film crew, and it was a full-on 3-day shoot with a car chase scene. We filmed down in River Rouge.
How did you pick River Rouge?
Because my DP, which is my camera guy, knows the mayor.
Okay.
And we got the location for free.
Okay.
So
that's why River
Got
Rouge.
it.
And they block off the streets for a certain amount of time.
Yeah,
and all
we
this?
had that whole city dialed in. They gave us the key to the city. It was amazing.
That's awesome.
We drew a lot of crowds down there. People were like, "What is happening down
Yeah,
here?"
that's so cool.
And then we flipped the car at Bellinger Park, and it was actually open that day. So we had to like clear a large area for safety. But like, so there was public people and having parties that were watching this.
Wow.
What the hell is happening? So that was quite a spectacle. But so then I wasn't even going to do this, but I submitted it to a couple of film festivals. Like, why not? We'll see what happens. They were not only accepted, but I won some awards. I won one at the Michigan, the Women's International Film Festival. I won a Exceptional Merit in the Stunt category. Wow. Super honored. Means nothing to anyone else. Means so much to me. And it went into the Los Angeles Action Festival. Again, just a small festival doesn't mean, like I told my mom, right? She's like crying. Oh my God, it's so great. I said, well, I said, I'm gonna go out for the screening. She's like, well, I wanna come. And I go, well, Mom, it's probably gonna be in like a 40-seat theater in like Hollywood, some like little dinky ghetto. And she's like, I don't care. So she flew out with me. We had the best weekend watching my little stupid film get, but it was fun to watch it on the big screen in front of like an audience, even though it was a small audience. Like, she was so proud. Like, that weekend was kind of just for her.
Oh, that's awesome.
So it's just something I will never forget.
It sounds like you're being recognized by your peers too.
Yes, and that's the biggest thing. It's just like, that's pretty cool. Sarah wanted to do this, and she wasn't going to wait around for a call that maybe would never happen in her career. She decided to just take the bull by the horns and do it herself. That's kind of what I want to teach my kids, because they've watched this crazy lady, their mom, do all of this. And what I try to tell them is, this isn't about like, I'm not a daredevil. Yes, I'm a stunt performer, but I'm doing something that I'm not being offered and given the opportunity. And I want you to know that that doesn't mean you can't do something in life. If someone's not offering you the opportunity, you need to make it yourself. And it's going to be harder, and you're going to have to work. And so they see me, and now they see me prepping for the sequel, and they're like, wow, you're still working on it? I'm like, yeah. It takes a lot of time. So anyway, we're prepping for the sequel, which we're shooting in Clarkston.
Which,
That's
hearing you
amazing.
talk about River Rouge and how like the whole community was like very excited and behind it, I would really hope that our community would be even more excited and behind it, since you live here.
Right. What is the involvement? What do you need
how do we get
from
people involved?
the community?
Yeah.
I mean, right now, I'm really looking for funding, because this is going to be a bigger, we have more stunts, like the stunt sequence is a little bit bigger than the first one, and bigger is more money. And I need 2 drone operators and not have 1, and I need them for 2 days of the shoot, and so all of this stuff adds up. I don't want to give too much away, but I had to hire a stunt pilot. So he is costing a lot of money. I'm not going to tell you why. You'll have to think and wonder and imagine, what in the world does she need a pilot for? So all these things cost a lot of money. So I launched an Indiegogo. It's essentially a Kickstarter type of campaign, not so much a GoFundMe. I guess it's still asking for money, but Indiegogo is kind of tailored more toward like indie filmmakers, and so I chose that platform, and we just launched it a week ago. The goal is $10,000, or as close to. If we don't make 10,000, I'll have to cut some of the stunts out and scale it back, because essentially in a production, stunts are the most costly thing. CGI and stunts are the most costly. Talking heads, actors, not so much.
Yeah, okay.
So mine is chock full of stunts, so therefore it costs a little bit more money. So that would be one way, is just kind of getting the word out for, and any donation is awesome. I don't care if it's $20, $100, whatever. There's a bunch of like donation tiers on the site, and it tells you what you will get with each tier. And I also started going to local companies, and I've got a handful of them on board already. I got Menchie's, Stars and Stripes, the gymnastics place, Baby Love Consignment Shop, which just opened up in the Neiman's area. I'd like to go to I've got a whole list of them, and they can get their logo in the ending credits, and I will social media blast their name, throughout the production time. So I think that's a good way to not only help your business get it out there, and the film will always be live. So it's never gonna be in the theater and then not be in the theater. It'll always be there. I expect it to do better than the first and go into the film festival circuit again. And who knows? I mean, you never know with these little films what they're gonna do.
Yeah. It's amazing. So if you donate, what are some of the things that they can get? Like, what are some of the gifts that come with some of the donations?
So the first one is just friend of the film. You get a special thanks in the credits. Okay. But that's going to be like my friends, like just supporting me.
Yeah.
Like I said, the company ones, there's different tiers. You can get the logos. There's another one for company, like a product placement. So if there's a company that, makes mugs, and they want their mug with their logo in my film, then that's an option. And then when I'm drinking coffee in the opening scene, it will be out of that mug. So that's an option. Another option is being an associate producer. So if you put up X amount of dollars, you can be an associate producer, which means you get a credit on IMDb, which is in the Internet Movie Database, which is kind of like the holy grail, or the Bible
I
of
never knew what that meant.
Internet Movie Database.
Did
I did not know
everybody?
what that meant.
Okay.
IMDb.
All right. Okay.
So you'll get a credit on that. You will also be able to come visit our set every single day while we film. You'll have just kind of the run of the set, kind of hang out, see how a film's made. Another option is being in the film. So let's say your child wants to be an actor, or you want to be an actor. I don't know, or I will write in a small role for you. You'll have at least one line. I don't know where it will be in the film.
Right.
It depends on what they want and what, anyway, a lot of things, gender, all the stuff, where I can put them in. So that's something that we can do. And then I'm trying to think of the last thing. It's all on the site, but those are the ones that I remember.
And what's the site called, so we can?
Indiegogo.
And we'll link it on our
Yeah, I
website
sent
too.
Katie the link.
Yeah.
So all you got to do is click the link, and it's all right there. And there's a video talking about everything we just talked about, why I want to do it, where the funds go, how it's broken down. It's kind of everything is on that campaign.
So now that you have the bug for this, do you feel like this is the next thing you're going to continue to focus on?
I think so.
Yeah.
I never thought about doing producing, but a lot of my peers have been like, you would be a really good producer. And I was like, I don't think so. I like performing. I love being in front of the camera and performing. And it doesn't, stunt performing, it doesn't have to be acting or both, but I'm kind of getting my feet wet with the production stuff, and it's a lot though. It's a lot of like clerical, administrative work, which is not, it's scheduling too. Getting everybody's schedules to line up, it's just pretty much impossible.
Yeah.
When are you hoping to film your movie?
Well, in July.
Okay,
this
so
year?
soon,
Yes.
so soon.
Oh, like real soon.
It's coming up really soon. Now, there are some issues. The writers are on strike, the Writers Guild, as everyone probably knows, and the Screen Actors Guild, which is what we are in, we might be going on strike. So there's a lot of, balls in the air as far as if we go on strike, we can't film, because this is going to be under a SAG contract.
And just because you're here and you know these things, so why would you guys go on strike? Like, give us a little rundown of what's happening
It's
with the
mostly because of
screenwriter.
AI.
It is. I mean, AI is a huge threat, for sure.
It's huge.
Yeah.
And we're already, every single contract negotiation, they're taking a little bit away from us.
Okay.
I have stunt peers that are in there, that are retired, but they worked their whole career in Hollywood, but their residual, so we get residuals every time something airs, right? They're not counting toward their health and pension. And so a lot of these retired stunt performers are not qualified for our health care anymore. When you need it the most, they're not able to, because you have to make a certain amount of money to be eligible for health care.
Okay.
So Screen Actors Guild, my whole family is under my health care.
Okay.
So if I don't make X amount of dollars a year, we lose it.
Oh, wow.
So it's like, but the performers in their 60s, 70s, and 80s, they need it the most.
Yeah.
And they're not getting it. So that's one thing that they're taking away from us. With AI, they're eliminating writers, they're eliminating residual. It's just, so all of that. That's why we would, and we all want to go on strike if we're not getting what we're asked for.
Okay.
Because
so when would that potentially happen?
Anytime. They're literally in negotiations this week.
So if that happens, you can't do anything,
We can't
even
work.
though this is you doing.
Yeah, independently.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like, okay.
Is it because you're going to honor what they're, the SAG strike? Okay.
Yep.
Everyone
And I'm
together.
using SAG performers, and I'm going to be under a SAG contract.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, I'm in the union for a reason. I took a lot of time to get into it. You know, it's not like they hand out SAG cards. You have to, it's hard to get one.
Yeah.
Okay. So yes, I will absolutely honor it, and because I want to be in favor of the strike, because I want, we should get what we are worked for.
And I mean, that could go on for a long time, right? So I mean, like, we're
know.
hoping get the film done.
So when you say, when you say, when do you want to do it? I'm like, I'd love to do it
today,
next week.
right now. Let's go.
What's the insurance budget on something like this? Like, it's got to be
I'm
insane.
working on that.
It's got to be crazy. I'm flipping a car. I mean, that can't be
I'm
cheap.
gonna be on fire. It's fine.
I know.
Is it just
A lot of
nuts?
it's just under the Screen Actors Guild
Oh, it is.
insurance, like
Oh,
under
okay.
the contract
Okay.
of the film. But that's another thing that I'm still learning doing the producing part of it. I don't know, and I will, you know, like you guys with the podcast, you kind of just figure it out as you go.
Yeah.
It's sometimes the best way to do it.
Yeah.
Because I feel like if you sit back and you're like, well, I don't know this, and this, well, you're never going to do it.
Launch.
You'll never launch.
Right. Yeah.
You'll always have an excuse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how about no excuses? Just take that first leap, take the first step, and you'll figure it all out.
You'll figure it out. I think it's so cool that you wanted to do a specific, I didn't realize you wanted to do a specific stunt, and that was the basis
everything
for your
came
film.
together.
And then here we
It's
are,
so
hashtag
neat.
mom life. I literally, it started from just me wanting to flip a stupid car,
Right.
and now I'm doing a sequel.
That's so
Because it went on to film festivals, and people were like, this is really good. I'm like, I know, right? Like, I never knew how it was going to, even when I saw it edited, I'm like, I mean, I don't like my performance because, you know, we don't like watching ourselves, but like as a whole, I'm like, that was a really fun little short film. Like, I was very proud of it. Yeah, so when we wrapped, my son Tyler said, Mom, like, if we ever do another one, can I get a line of dialogue? And I thought that was so cute. Like, he wanted more of a part of it. So I'm going to give him a line, this in hashtag Mom Life Part 2. But also, he is eligible to be in the Screen Actors Guild because he worked for Seth MacFarlane last year. Remember the movie Ted with the teddy bear? So Seth is launching a TV series on Ted.
Wow.
I think it's going to be launched this fall. I wonder if I'm allowed to say that. Anyway, that's all I'm saying.
Okay.
But Tyler got a role in it as a stunt kid. And he didn't have any lines. But so the stunt I was working on it a lot, and the stunt coordinator is a friend of mine, and he called me up and he says, how old's your son again? I said, he's 9. He goes, does he want to be in the show? I need a stunt kid around. He's a perfect look and all that. I'm like, so I go, Tyler, do you want to fly to Hollywood and like work? He's like, well, how much am I going to be paid? And I go, more than any of your friends in one day. Like,
Right.
why
So
is this
funny.
your question?
Hilarious.
So
Hilarious.
we flew to LA, and it was such a fun experience. He did so good,
so
you guys.
cool.
Like, proud mama moment, because
Yeah.
now I'm the stage mom. Normally I'm working on set. Now I'm that stage mom, and I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna sit back. I don't want to make them nervous.
Right.
I've seen moms that are like, oh, and up there, do this, do that, do like. I didn't want to be that person, so I just stood back, and he took direction. Seth was like, all right, Tyler, now when you come into frame, look up and do this. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm thinking, he's not gonna know that. He did.
Wow.
He nailed it. So anyway, he can now join the Screen Actors Guild if he wants. So he thinks he's pretty cool.
What if there's other like young people who want to, like, let's say someone at Clarkston High School here that wants to get into stunt work, from here, is there a good path for them to take?
From here, it's hard because there's not much filming here. Now, we're hoping that the film incentive comes back. I don't know where they are in the voting process, but I heard that it's happening soon, like maybe the fall. And now we have a new governor, you know, Rick Snyder was the governor that pulled it. We have a new governor that I believe is in favor of it. So if that happens and we get more filming here, it will be a lot easier.
Okay.
But let's say that that's not going to happen, because that's where we are now. Chicago's a great market that is close by, that has filming. I would say do what I did and do extra work. If you're old enough, maybe you graduate, I don't know. Actually, there's probably some stuff filming here that they could sign up for with some of the local agencies and do extra work. Okay. Again, I know I'll repeat myself, but you're not making a lot of money, but you're learning about set etiquette and all the departments, and it's an invaluable experience to just get on set. Yeah. And make a little money and meet people, because then you're going to meet other actors and they're going to say, oh, there's a showcase that's happening next Wednesday, you should come. Oh, okay. And that's how it happens, right? So that's number one. Number two, get involved in your theater in high school as much as you can, whether it's set design or performing or any of it. Just be involved in the theater group. I was in all the theater productions in high school. That's invaluable. Improv classes, and I want to say that Detroit has some.
They do.
Okay.
Yeah, they do.
Take improv classes, because even as a stunt person, there's a lot of times where I get hired as a stunt actor. So you'll see all the shows where there's like victims, CSI, NCIS, Law and Order, all those shows. I've been on them all and been killed on every single one. So I play my own part. But I'm doing a stunt and I might have one line. If I don't have a line, I'm still acting, and then I get shot or strangled or whatever it is. So doing improv is good when you're auditioning. You're up in front of the casting director, maybe you only have one line, and she's like, all right, just play with it a little bit. Well, that means you need to improv. You want to be like, play with it. What does that mean? And you're frozen. I love when casting directors say, have fun with it. Because then I know I can use my improv skills and I can have fun with it. Throw in my own lines. Do some improv. That is invaluable. So improv. And then I would start there at acting classes and get on set and then try to get into the union.
And is it gymnastics too, like from the physical point?
Yes, that's good. So sorry, what I was thinking acting. So stunt work, yes. Actually, absolutely hone in on your sport of choice. And if you don't have a sport of choice, do some martial arts classes. Take some gymnastics classes. Motorcycles, if you're old enough and your parents allow it and all that, that's a good skill to have. And it doesn't have to be tricky, like trick riding. I ride motorcycles. I don't do trick stuff. When someone calls me for a motorcycle job, I've done one, and it was what we call point A to point B. Can you ride a motorcycle from point A to point B? I can't wheelie. I'm trying, still practicing that, but I have not mastered it. So you don't need to be doing all that. But if you can, that's really good. Skateboarding. Swimming. Are you a proficient swimmer? Because I worked water jobs where like stunt people can't swim, and you're like, yeah, that's a problem. So know how to swim. Boxing, any sports really, basketball. Any type of athleticism. And then also you need to be able to take direction. That's a big one. When you're on set, you might think you're gonna do, I need you to throw a football. And you're like, oh, all I need to do is throw a football. But then you get on set and the director's like, all right, you know what, I need you to start off in I don't play football, this is gonna sound dumb. Start off in a scrum, or that's rugby. Throw the football to the quarterback, and then he's gonna throw it back, and then I need you to twirl around 5 times, then throw it.
Right.
Okay, ridiculous, but someone might be like, oh, I don't know how to do that. So just be willing to know that it might change on the day when you're there. So be willing to take direction. Does that make sense?
Fair,
Okay. So that's a big one, because I've been on set where stunt people get thrown something else and they can't do it. And it's embarrassing for them. I feel it's bad. It's, it's hard for them, and they freeze up, and it's just not good. So you need to be loose and able to take direction if the action changes.
Yeah, well, that's fair. I think that's good. Those are great tips for kids. And I just, as you're talking, I was thinking about, are there people that you are like on your bucket list of people to work with that you haven't gotten to yet? I
would love to work with Quentin Tarantino.
Oh, interesting.
Just because I have so many friends that have worked for him, and the vibe on the set seems so great. I'm not interested in working on Michael Bay films anymore because he is not very nice on set. And I'm to a point where I'm like, I want to have fun on set. Right? I love what I do. I don't want to be on a set where people are yelling at me. I'm good. I'm good. So I would love to work with him. I would love to work with Bradley Cooper, because I'm just, I don't know, in love with him.
Who is
and
it?
he's my what do they call it? Get out of jail or what's?
Oh,
my hall pass.
Yes.
Yeah. So my husband knows he's fine. So I'd love to work with him, and I'd love to work with Kristen again.
Yeah.
Because I know that I'm such a good double for her.
Yeah.
And I told her the last time, I'm like, so can you start like maybe working in more like action films, like maybe be like a superhero or something, so I can come do more stuff for you. So I'm hoping that she does more, like not so much rom-com-y talking head movies, like, you know, can you like fight or like fall more, because then I'm, you know, you'll need me.
Can you blow up or something?
Yeah, can you like set yourself on fire or something like that?
I do have, I'm sorry, I don't want to keep you forever, but I do have another question, because obviously there's a lot of, you were talking about having a male-dominated field, so do you see that changing? Are there more girls and women coming up into stunt work?
So
and how do we
great
encourage
question.
more?
Yes, it is definitely getting better. I don't think we are where we should be. And yes, there's a lot more stunt women. When I got in, I don't know if you know, Atlanta is like a huge movie. It's like a mini Hollywood. So when I got in the business, Atlanta wasn't around. The filming meccas were basically LA and New York and Chicago when I got in. Now, I mean, we've got Atlanta, which is literally busier than LA most of the time. We have Portland. I just came back from Portland. New Orleans is a big filming spot. Ohio, like Cleveland has some stuff going on, Cincinnati. So all that to say, there's a lot more stunt people from those markets. They're not just being pulled from New York and LA and Chicago. So there's a lot more stunt people in the market, which is a bummer for people that have been in it a while, because it's more competition. But at this point, when you've been in the business 15 years or 20 years or 25, you kind of made your connections. So you typically get hired by the same people because you're kind of friends at that point. But I think still there's men that are doubling women.
Wow.
It doesn't happen as much, but why is it happening at all?
Right.
Unless the only thing I would say that that is okay is if there is such a specialized stunt that there literally is not and the actress and the person that's doing the stunt is a woman, and they literally can't find a woman doing this particular stunt. Maybe it's, again, making this up, maybe it's wheeling a motorcycle on a cliff. I don't know. And maybe there are, I know some badass motorcycle girls that probably could do that. But let's say in this situation there isn't, and they've exhausted all their efforts, and yes, then they have to get a guy, throw a wig on her, and do the stunt. Okay, that's fair. But did you exhaust all your efforts? Do you know that there's not a woman out there to do it? So, you know, I think if I had some of my stunt girlfriends here, we would be like, yeah, it's happening. But it is getting better. And I think every year it's getting a little bit better.
Well, if they see people like you who have been doing this, and then you're doing your own thing, and you're a leader in, you know, your group, it just gives them inspiration too.
Well, that was part of the reason I kind of put myself out there, because I mean, I think in any business, it's hard to put yourself out there, right? Because you don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
It could be a complete disaster, epic fail, embarrassing, oh my God.
Right.
So that, I had a lot of those feelings when I put it out here. Like, what are people going to think? Oh, Sarah did her own car stunt. Like, I didn't know how it was going to be received. And I'm sure there's people out there that are like, that was stupid. I mean, you're always going to get haters.
Right.
I just don't care about that. I choose to put the haters aside and just focus on the people that are like, rah, rah, Sarah. You know, surround yourself with people surround yourself with people that are fans of yours. I like to hang out with people that I am a fan of theirs and learn from them. So I do hope that I inspire people to do your own thing and don't take no for an answer and create your own opportunities. That's my whole vibe, and that's what I'm teaching my kids. I hope they listen to me. I don't know. It's just their mom talking, so they probably
life.
I probably sound like the Charlie Brown teacher to them at this point. But I mean, I hope so. That's the point. And especially like, you know, the local like film people at Clarkston High School or the schools. You know, I hope that they can take risks and do some of their own stuff. And
I love it. It's such a great message, and it's not just for women, because we were talking about that, but any person.
Absolutely.
You know, and that's a great message. And I really hope that people in the community support this project that you're doing, because it's super fun. The first film was awesome to watch. And We were
But
watching
even
it at
better
home.
to happen
And
right
it's
here.
so cool that it's happening here. Yeah.
And I wanted the first one to happen here, but I just didn't have any money.
Yeah.
Yeah. the
And when my
resources.
DP was like, we can shoot in River Rouge, and we got the whole street, I'm like, okay, River Rouge
Oh
it
yeah,
is.
that's a nice
Yeah.
opportunity.
Have you talked to, so that, is it in Springfield Township where it's being filmed?
Yeah.
Okay, because I didn't know if you had any coordination with Independence Township as well. Is there some coordinated efforts with the local?
There's not at
communities?
this point, but
Not
we
yet.
can totally talk about that. That's what's
Yes.
great about this is we can, hopefully have
Open up some
continued
conversation.
Yes, open up some
Yeah.
avenues, and you guys might have ideas, and
Yeah.
I'm open to all ideas because I have never really done this before.
Yeah.
Ah.
And,
we're doing it
asking
now, right
asking for
now.
money isn't really my forte.
Yeah.
Well, no one loves to ask for money,
No.
I don't think, but I
Yeah.
think this is such a cool project.
I think
so,
it's a good
yeah.
cause, and like I said, with the companies, there's some incentive to give
Yes.
back, you know,
Yes.
and hopefully maybe there are some parents that see it and they're like, God, my kid really is interested in learning about movie
Yeah.
making. Let them come on the
Awesome
set.
opportunity.
Well, and there's not that much opportunity here where we are for this kind of thing. So I
Right.
feel like a lot of people are going to be really excited about it. I mean,
I hope so.
The film incentive or whatever it was called that didn't really happen, people were really excited about the opportunities that were going to be here, but since it, kind of flopped,
Yeah.
here's an opportunity. Here it is. It's happening live right now in real time.
Yep,
So
and right here.
So
in
right
your
here
backyard.
in our backyard.
Like we said, we'll put it on our website,
Yeah,
share it
for
to
sure.
social media, our newsletter, everything.
And also,
so.
my Instagram is where I kind of update people on what's happening. So it's at Sara Holden Stunts. So you can follow me on there, and I kind of do some, especially now, I'll be doing updates on
Very cool.
the financing and the filming and all that stuff.
Do you have like one of those thermometers of like the amount of
No,
money
but should I make one?
I mean, maybe so we can follow along.
Right now, it's really down there.
It's
okay?
cold. It's cold and it's gonna get
cold.
hot.
Cold right
Yeah.
now.
It's gonna heat up. We have a huge audience. Our hundreds of people.
Yes, it's getting bigger.
It's getting
Working
bigger.
on it.
We all have to start somewhere.
that's right.
Yes, and we do appreciate you coming on.
We do.
And then our final question,
Yes.
is always, is there anybody locally that you think we should invite on the podcast? We always like to have some sort of nomination.
Yes.
Right.
Any recommendation? People you're thinking about, like, ooh, that person.
I
could-
have
Interesting.
a local artist friend who
Okay.
lives on my lake,
Okay.
and she does resin painting, and she consigns to a lot of the local shops. I think she's in Maiden, Michigan.
Okay.
I want to say she's in Yellow Dog,
Right.
so she might be a good person to talk to. I
Okay.
don't know if you interview artists.
Sure.
course,
We interview
yes.
everyone.
There's another person.
What's her name, just so we
her
can-
name is Lisa Romance.
Okay.
I think it's Lisa Marie Designs. I'll send you her Instagram.
Okay.
She has a really large following, and her work is awesome.
Okay.
Have you seen resin art? I didn't know
Yeah.
anything about
on
resin art.
tables? Like I've seen it on tables.
She does
or-
tables. She does tumblers.
Wow.
She does
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
coasters.
Yes.
Cool.
Very
She does
cool.
all type of cutting boards.
Okay.
It's gorgeous. She's got a whole art room set up in her house. It's amazing.
Okay.
Like she's kind of inspired me where I'm like, I kind of want to do that.
You can do that.
Because I love artsy stuff and I
Yeah.
love doing art and painting. So she would be great. And then I just thought of another one. I don't really know this person, but I have access to him. He's a musician on my lake.
Okay.
Last name is Hatmaker. Does this ring a bell? I don't know his first name, but he's
Ooh, a
a
mystery.
musician
I like it.
that is still working, and I think that's all he does. Like that's his main job, and he's got
Okay.
a great album out, and he's in Clarkston.
Oh, that would be
Would he be
perfect.
someone?
Yes.
I literally
love
just
it.
thought of that one
Yes.
right now.
Fantastic.
Yes, those are good. Two
And
great
I know that
ones.
his
Yes.
son is in my son's class.
Okay.
So that they had like mystery readers one time, and my mom was a mystery reader. And then I saw such and such hat maker. I'm like, oh, that's the musician that lives on our lake.
So cool.
So that's all
Those
I
are
know.
All
great
right, that's a great
recommendations.
connection.
Yes.
What about the owner of
thank you.
Bourdines?
Yes.
Yes,
Calvin.
that's two nominations.
Two for him today.
Is it Calvin,
That's-
right?
Yes.
Yeah, he could be a good one too.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be hitting him up to sponsor my film.
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's your first thing to do today. So
Hey, Calvin, I dropped your name at the podcast. But in addition to that,
Yeah. Go in. Go and have that chat.
that is so
That
funny.
is so
I
good.
see his ski boat all the time. Like he lives right across the lake from me.
Nice.
So I could spy on him.
Totally.
Totally
Just
spy
run
on him.
into, you're going to be water skiing and you happen to fall right there.
Yes.
Help me
Yeah.
while you're helping
I'll just
me.
take a good digger, just
Yes.
like wipe out
You
and
can
be
make
like,
it look so
hey.
good.
It's a plan.
You can fake an injury. It's okay.
Yes.
This is for a good cause. Kelvin, help.
So then those are 3 people.
Thank you. Those are great
Awesome.
recommendations. Well, thank you so much for coming to talk to
Yes.
us.
This podcast is brought to you by Independence Television, located inside Clarkston High School. The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of Independence Television, Independence Township, or Clarkston Community Schools.